Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Pineapple Podcast. Today we have Ilona joining us today, and she has been a pioneering young lady that came into the real estate space, and she has done so many different strategies from renovation, major renovation, land development. I can't wait to start chatting with her. So, Ilona, please welcome to the Pineapple Podcast.
Thank you so much, Mitch, for having me. It's my pleasure.
Oh, thank you. So, I can't really wait to get into your story. I want to get people to understand, like, what is Ilona's story as it is today? Like, what type of real estate are you working on in your endeavors?
Right now, I'm focusing on land development, meaning I purchase land and I take it through the entitlement process. And then usually there's an exit before the construction starts. So that's where my main focus is, but I do a ton of things in the real estate space.
Beautiful. I love that because, land development, it's quite an interesting strategy because it's usually reserved for, let's say, the major players. But now we're finding that more and more people are really loving that space, like yourself, and able to sort of create that network. So I'm really wanting to jump into that. But before we go into sort of like what you're doing now, a lot of our sort of viewers, they're also at that space where they're trying to transition out of their jobs, or they're now coming into the space and they need to figure it out. So tell us about your story. Let's say when you first made that decision, yep, I am going to go into real estate. I'm going to become an investor. What was that like in the early days?
So it was an interesting journey personally for me because, and I guess I'll start at the beginning. The way that it started for me was I had sold a property and came into a little bit of money that I was like, okay, what do I do with this? I know I can probably invest it. I knew the pre-construction strategy because that's kind of how I got the money, but I was looking for different ways to diversify without just continuously buying the pre-construction homes that I was. And so I heard an ad on the radio for Keyspire, and Scott McGilvery was like, come to my free event. I'm like, this is the sign, I'm going,
Right.
And I did, and I went through the process and I ended up joining the network. And it's funny because when I was there speaking to some of the coaches, my plan was just like so many others that I hear is I have this full-time corporate job. I'm going to start doing this part-time. Eventually I remember my 5-year plan was to take one day off a week and focus fully on,
Yeah.
and then slowly, transition my career.
Right.
And I attended the 3-day workshop in March of 2020. So I paid the big bucks and I joined the network, and I was so excited to start slowly and start learning. And then 3 weeks later, COVID hit. So I ended up getting laid off from my job.
Oh, no. Blessing in disguise, right?
Blessing. And so when you asked me when the decision was made, the decision was made for me already. So that 5-year plan turned into a 3-week plan. And so that's when I did have a decision to make at that time because, the world was shut down. People were letting everybody go. There was no opportunity really for me to go back into the corporate world. And I saw this as a perfect opportunity to get started. So I said, I have 2 kids. I have a roof to keep over their heads. Something has to give, and I need to really immerse myself and make something happen. So that's what I did. I just hit the ground running and started networking with everybody. I completely immersed myself around the people that were actually doing this full time. And that's kind of how it started. And then it carried on, and I could talk about some of the projects I did, but that's really the deciding factor.
Yeah. I love that.
Space.
Absolutely. I love that sharing because here you are, a single mom, 2 kids. The boss basically said, COVID is here and we can't continue. Now what, right? I love the fact that you did embrace the fact that, okay, I started this journey. So now instead of a 3-year plan, I'm in a 3-week plan. Good for you for doing that. But it takes a lot of grit and a lot of mindset in order to make that transition, right? And I'm sure you would have gone through a lot of, oh my God, is this the right decision? Is this the wrong decision? And even in the networking, let's face it, you talk to 20 people before you land 1 or 2, right? So when you start hitting all those no's, I mean, that can affect a lot of people, you know. So I absolutely love the fact that you're sharing that with us, because that's a real concern for a lot of people. That's why a lot of times they build a bridge plan, or what I like to say is the bridge plan, you need to build that from, if you really want to move out of your corporate world, that's how you transition out. You know, you got to work twice as hard so that you can slow down as you sort of get that real estate up and running. So now that you've embraced it, you started the networking, which is very daunting for a lot of people, by the way. And tell us, how was that experience initially for you? I know today you're very comfortable with it, but what was that like when you were saying, hey, I got to talk to strangers, tell them that I'm here, I'm doing real estate, and I want you to work with me?
So I had a leg up because my background is in corporate sales. So I have no problem talking to people. That was part of my job. Although you're right, it is intimidating when you're new to the space. I knew what I was doing in my job. I knew, what I'm selling. I know my customers. I know what they want. So coming into a fresh space is always intimidating. Not that I didn't have the skill set, but being new to any network, you're going to feel that way. And I think really, like you said, the grit was there. I had a very strong motivation. And I think that's part of why I did it as, successfully as I did, because I didn't give myself another option. There was no other option. Success was the only option. This is going to work out for me. Everything always works out for me. So I'm just going to go out there and take the steps that I know are necessary to get there. And they're not all comfortable. They're not all fun, and in the beginning, it is intimidating. I see a lot of people trying to transition from their careers, and they feel like they don't know anything. That's not a good feeling after you've studied for years and you went to university, or, you've had 20 years of experience in your current career, and all of a sudden you're like a fish out of water. So that can be intimidating, and, your confidence takes a little bit of a hit. But I think really just getting out there and understanding that everyone started just like you did somewhere. We all have different stories. It's all a different journey, but it was also once new to them, and you'll find the right people. So I just reached out to anybody that would talk to me. I'm like, can I book a visit? All I did during the first couple months of COVID was sit on Zoom calls with people and get to know them. And I wanted to get to know what they're doing and how their strategy is working, because in the beginning, it could be so overwhelming. There's so many ways to make money in real estate, and there are so many different strategies. And I think what people fail to realize sometimes is they're all their own businesses. They all function differently. Yes, there's a lot of overlap. Yes, we're closing deals. Yes, we're doing underwriting. Yes, some people are managing tenants. I'm not, for example. So people will ask me about multifamily. I'm like, I don't really know, how to acquire a cash flowing building. Not that I couldn't figure it out, but that's not what I do. So the first little while was spent, having this shiny object syndrome, because what everyone is doing seems so exciting. I want Airbnbs overseas. I want multifamily buildings. I want to do this. I want to do that. And so I went through this process of self-discovery too during that time, because I would get these insights from people that were doing it day to day to day. And they were open in sharing. Not all of them, mind you. You will get some no's of like, I'm not telling you how to run my business. See you later. You can't even book a call with me, for example. So lots of those too. But the people that were open gave me that much more insight. Yeah, I do Airbnb, but oh my gosh, the cleaning and these people cancel and da. And like the bookings, and then you have to do that. And then my cleaner, so then I have to drive 2 hours, I'm like, holy moly, so I tried to figure out what is it that this person does the most of the time. Most of their time is spent doing what? Because again, people come out from their careers, and I talk about this all the time. You think the grass is greener over here, right? Because it's easy to think that. It's easy to see people on stage and, oh my gosh, 100 units. And oh my gosh, this person had a 40-unit building. And oh my gosh, but what are they doing every day? And is that suitable for who you are and what your goals are? And, some people have really thriving, meaningful, fulfilling careers, and they're coming into this business ownership doing tasks that they would never do in their career. And I experienced that too. I was in sales. I loved what I did. I loved the relationship piece. And I started my development business shortly after joining Keyspire.
Right.
we were doing a lot of things that I've never done. I'm like, this is crazy. Isn't there somebody for this? Where's the accounting department? Like, and all of a
Right.
sudden you're doing all the things. It's you, and you're raising the money, and you're doing things that you've never done before, and you're trying to learn how to underwrite deals. And, so the beginning is a lot at one time.
Yes.
There's ways I could talk about that. I think you can minimize that a little bit, plus minimize your risk. But that's kind of how the
Mm.
networking piece
No, I
started.
love that insight because again, it really hits, as they say, the hammer hits the nail on the head because really and truly, this is some of the real things that people don't really understand or realize until they come into it. And then they realize, oh my God, real estate is a lot of work. Yes, it is. And it's get rich slow, not get rich quick, because
That's
we
right.
talk land development, but that's going to take you years, whether you like
Right.
it or not. Building permits, the city takes their time, okay?
That's right.
There's no rushing them.
That's
But
right.
but the insight coming from that experience you had is great. The other thing is, I love the fact that you took the approach of basically, most times we say burn the bridge, there's no going back. But in this case, the bridge was burned for you.
That's right.
So you just had to say, I am moving forward.
That's right.
And the one thing when I teach people or when I coach people as well, I tell them, listen, success in real estate is there. Why? Because you can find thousands and thousands of people that are doing it every day.
Mhm.
And you did the exact perfect recipe. Talk to people and learn their stories because that's how you'll find out your own pathway to success,
Right.
right? So I love that you're sharing that with us. But I definitely want to get into the land development space because most people think it's only big developments. You can, I think there's places you can start that's quite surprising. You can do a simple conversion or tear down an entire house and build it back up in an infill land development sort of project. So you can gain that level of experience and confidence that you need to know that you're doing the right things. And then when you love it, you can scale, right? So if you could share with us what that looks like in your early part of the day when you were sort of figuring out some of the big developments that you were doing. And I know I've seen some of the sharings you're doing with the projects in the early days too, and it was absolutely brilliant.
Yeah. So during my networking piece, and I guess I'll just funnel the story that way because I had met somebody, and an important point that I wanted to finish off with there is
Yeah,
I started writing down the things that I did want to do or I could do or I did want to learn to do from these conversations. So as I'm having these conversations, I'm like, can't do that. No, I want to, that sounds really interesting. So I just put a list of things that I can bring to the table because I was
yeah,
looking for a partner. I
right,
knew I could not do it alone. I'm like, there's no way I'm undertaking this by myself. Like
right,
somebody needs to have, I know what I can take on. I know what I already know. I had no problem asking people for money, raising money. I had a sales background, and that might be different for different people. But I knew I didn't have the construction experience. So I'm like, I want to do development. That's where I landed. I wanted to do
right.
development projects, but I'm like, I don't know construct. I don't have 20 years to go and figure out construction and get 20 years of experience.
Very important.
So
Yes. Yes.
yeah, so I partnered with someone that did have that experience. And so we figured out kind of really quickly what we wanted to do. And what we did was buy single family lots in Toronto that were quite large in the High Park area. And they were like decrepit, like tear down type of
They were the
property.
dream.
They were the dream for us. And
Yeah.
we turned them into 8-unit apartment buildings. So from one unit,
Love that.
8 units, it was incredible. It was an incredible experience. It was a lot of work and it's a lot of
Right.
learning and stress, and construction is, I'm telling you, is not easy. Manage. And then not only that, we did it in the middle of COVID, like
Oh,
right in the middle of COVID.
oh
Remember when
my
lumber
God.
prices went up three
Yes.
hundred
Oh,
percent? Oh
yeah,
my
I think
gosh. I think at one point it would have been like efficient to tear down the whole house again and return the lumber and then buy it at a lower price.
oh
So
my
we
God.
all of it happened. So
Yeah.
luckily we're keeping these properties long term and they're in Toronto, so that's okay. But if those were flips, like so that's how we started. So we did 4 of those conversions. And then we started moving into the bigger space. As you said, you kind of, graduate to new levels. And you're right, land development doesn't, even that, I mean, that I would consider a construction project more than a land development play. Yes, we did go through, the committee of adjustments, and we did a little bit of that planning work.
Right.
But as far as land development goes, now I'm buying land and actually taking it through the rezoning process and then exiting. So we did the whole process. So we went from acquisition, raising the funds, rezone. Well, we didn't actually rezone, but we went through the committee. We went through all that city planning. We did the financing. We did the construction. We did basically tore down the whole house, just left the 4 walls up.
Right.
And then, saw the construction through, which felt like forever, and then stabilized the property. Now we're keeping it long term. So what I learned through that process too is there are so many opportunities to exit.
Right.
We did the whole process from acquisition to build, to keeping it long term, where some people buy cash flowing properties, multifamily, right? Like
that's right.
Or some people just do the development piece, and some people do the construction piece. So there are so many things. I'm so grateful for that experience because I learned the entire process.
Right.
From A to Z,
Beautiful.
So yeah, that's kind of how the development started.
No, I love that though. I mean, taking it from one single unit to eight apartments, that is definitely a big deal, especially in the Toronto market with so many things that you have to deal with, right? So first of all, congratulations. That's a huge milestone in COVID, as you rightly say, when prices of lumber for 2x4 went from $3 to like $20 at one point in time, right? So talk about throwing your budget out the window, right?
Right. What budget?
Exactly. It's like, just get it built.
Yeah.
So absolutely love that. And then the buy and hold strategy, brilliant for you to figure that out. One thing I want to point out so our viewers can understand as well that you kind of shared with us is, this is quite involved. So partner up with somebody in the beginning. Learn the processes, because you've just outlined to us an entire segment of how this is really done. And I love that, because when you partner with people in the way you did it, and I don't know if it's just the law of attraction or you just knew that that's the way for you to grow, but that's the way for people to grow. Find the people around you, work with them, invest with them, spend that time learning so that when you eventually do your own projects, you can take it to the whole next level, right?
That's right.
So I do absolutely love that. So tell us now, so what are some of the projects you're working on today?
So many things. So on the land development side, I'm still working on the, doing more. And this is another thing you mentioned before. They don't have to be massive land development projects. So for example, one of the projects I'm working on is an assembly. So I'm assembling 4 bungalows, taking them through the rezoning process, and ultimately, exiting at a certain point in the planning process, whether it's draft plan approval or site plan approval.
Right.
So I never actually have to touch the land.
Right.
I learned my lesson, like, okay, leave the construction to the other people that know what they're doing and do it every day. And I'm living in the middle of a construction right now as I'm looking outside, and they know what they're doing, let them do that thing.
Yeah.
So that's what I'm working on as far as on the land development side. And then I'm also in the middle of opening a mortgage brokerage. So it's really exciting.
Wow.
And just opening, doing business. And as I'm going through this process, and as I did over COVID, building that business, I also learned a lot of ways that I want to run my businesses and that I don't want to run my businesses. So again, starting and doing all the things is not exactly what I want to be doing, because you can get stuck there for a long time. So once you can think at a bit of a higher level, then you realize, okay, I don't need to be the person. Like, I'm not an actual broker, right? So I'll be the owner. So there's no people like, you're not a broker. What do you mean? Aren't you? So just thinking, and for me, I know a lot of successful mortgage agents, don't get me wrong, they make a ton of And they're really good at that. That's not my skill, right? So
Right.
that's something I'm working on. And then I'm working on, we actually had our first Miami mastermind. So that was back in about a month ago. So
Nice.
really working on putting amazing groups of people together, helping them grow, helping them scale, helping them just have that network like we talk about of like-minded people that are also in the business of real estate, passionate about growing, passionate about the people that they are spending their time with. So that's a passion project
Yes.
that we're working on, and it's the first one was an incredible success, and we're doing it again. So
Oh, I
those
love it. So what was the mastermind about? Was it for women and men, real estate investors?
Yeah, so the first one was for women. The next one is going to be co-ed with women and men. And it started off with Adriana, my partner, and I. We went to Miami and we actually went to a law of attraction conference and
Nice.
we had an amazing experience. We have a life-changing weekend, and her and I have an amazing relationship and a friendship, and we always talk about growth, and we're always talking about how to grow each other's businesses or our own businesses, how to be healthy and wealthy. We talk about kids, we talk about work, we talk about real estate.
Love it. Yeah.
Um, and we're like, how can we expand that? We have such a special way of communicating very intentionally. And we always see the best in each other. And really, we have that kind of support. So
Yes.
that's how the mastermind was born. And we're like, let's invite other people. So we booked a massive villa in Miami that sleeps 18 people. It's stunning.
Right.
And with no questions asked, it was just a guided kind of decision. And we sold out and we had 16 incredible women. And really the purpose of the mastermind is to mastermind, which is, coming together and creating this one mind in the space where people come in so intentionally wanting to add value to other people. And so what most of the time we did was have 45-minute sessions. Everybody gets to a chance to sit in the hot seat, and you come with your challenge or your goal or your something where you're stuck or something where you want help creating. And so imagine 15 other people. These are business women, these are real estate investors, lawyers, really experienced, amazing people with a lot of intention coming from their heart as well and resources. And they're pouring into you. And they're like, okay, how can we build that? How can we build you?
Yeah.
How can we build your business? How can we help you get to your goals? And
Mhm.
really what we found is just we were able to collapse time in those 45 minutes. I mean, people that had goals for the next year we're all of a sudden accomplishing them right there because hey, I have this resource, hey, I know this person, hey, I'm going to get you in touch with this person, or or there was clients sitting there like I need that service, I'm going to be your client,
Right. Yeah.
so
Yeah.
it was incredible, life-changing experience for everybody that was there. So I think that's more on the fulfillment side for me
Mhm.
is seeing those transformations and being a part of that. So that's something it's oddly enough, and maybe not so oddly, but we're all in real estate, right? Like we're
That's
all
right.
still a real estate, and
Yep.
people had real estate questions, but
Mhm.
there was a ton of different things that came out of that experience. So we're really excited to
100%.
do it again.
Yeah, love that experience that you're sharing with us. Thank you for that because absolutely true. When great minds come together, you really can grow and develop. Because I also spend a lot of time on helping people with their planning and their sort of developing what are they going to be looking for. And I see the value in it because when you get into a room of people, there's so much synergy, so much energy, so much connections and experiences that you don't know people have until you start putting it out there. So and you chose Miami. I love that, vibrant city for sure. So that's amazing. So you're doing the brokerages, you're going to be doing the mastermind because of the love of it. And then in terms of the real estate, are you going to be focused on the land development or you're looking to sort of branch out into other strategies later on? What's exciting for you now as you move forward with real estate?
Yeah, I think the land development piece is what speaks to me the most. I think
Mhm.
as far as a long-term goal, I would love to, develop something that's really around like health and wellness. Maybe a community. This is like a dream,
Yeah,
like,
yeah.
and maybe a community where people are able to, um, you know, live together and be healthy together and support each other. And the kids can be there and safe and, really like-minded people, because I would live there. I'm kind of just building it
Well,
for myself. And, we'll
yeah.
have a center with like all the health and wellness things and have healthy food and have, a yoga place, and all in the same community, where everybody can kind of be together. And so that would be a dream of mine. But as far as right now, yes, land development, I'm flipping
Yeah.
paper and passing the baton on to the next person.
I
That's
love it. So
yeah.
as you know, in terms of development and what the future looks like as well, developers, builders, government, they're all pushing for self-contained uh, buildings or condominiums. So you could easily build a 20 floor, 30 floor
Yeah,
building with that exact amenity of where you're selecting who gets the units based on certain lifestyle criteria.
that's
And
right.
then you have your yoga studio, you have your nursery, you have the healthy grocery section right there. Like, you can build it. So you've put it out here on the
Yeah,
Pineapple Podcast. So we'll
out
wait to
here.
see when
You heard it here first.
you're gonna do this construction. Absolutely. And this is a real thing. Like if you look at the future of where development is going, they're even going vertical with greenhouses now. It's no longer spread across acres and acres. They're going up, right? So this is, it's all about maximum use of space, efficiencies in building. So yeah, I love the fact that you're thinking about integrating lifestyle with the building or the
Mm,
development. So
mhm,
that's a brilliant space to be in, So one of the most important things I think, I want to touch on with you a little bit as well is let's talk to the investor that's coming in, or the real estate investor that's coming in. They really want to get that whole mindset right, and I'm a big believer. Let's work on us first. You've said it here, and I really want to reinforce it. Health, mental and physical health is really important, because now you're an entrepreneur the day you decided to become a real estate investor, because that's what you're doing. You're getting into business.
mhm.
And while we talk about visualization and we can close our eyes and we can see the beauty of the world, you got to remember, if we could live in our minds all the time, it would be perfect. However, the mind and the body is integrated together. So we have to be aware of the health side of our body as well as the mental side of it, because when you're working, like you said, land development can be quite stressful. You need to condition yourself for that. And so I'd love to unpack it with you as well, because honestly, you embrace that stress with such grace that people don't. I mean, I'm sure behind the closed doors, it might be this and that and the next. But when you're talking to people, you always maintain that sort of positive persona. So I'd love to get a little bit of tidbits on that mental aspect as well.
Yeah, I'm so glad that you brought that up, Mitch, because you know how it's so important to me, and I know we connect on this all the time.
Right.
And that took me practice. I think getting disciplined around my thoughts is really the practice. That it's been a 5-year journey for me, and I started off, right after I was separated from my husband, and I knew I needed to do something to be able to get through those hard times. I needed tools, and I
Yes.
knew I didn't have them. So I started looking for them, and I said, how can I be happy? How can I maintain my mental health and happiness for my kids when I'm in a really, really horrible situation, whether it's, at that time was personal, sometimes it's stress from, like you said, our businesses. And so I started reading and all the things. I started with, You Are a Badass by Jen Sincero. That was like my first, I call it the gateway drug into the whole space. Um,
Right.
And then I did, I followed Dr. Joe Dispenza and, the Tony Robbins of the world and Abraham Hicks and, Vishen Lakiani and all those mentors. And I really, it's a practice. That's what it is. It's a practice. And I learned to gain control around my thoughts. And that is the number one thing that I can accredit my happiness to. There are so many thoughts in our minds that are so automatic. They're
That's right.
running system. It's a program running, and we pick up these thoughts and beliefs from childhood, from peers, from work, from all over the place.
That's right.
And they can really take a hold of your life and control your life and control your emotions. So that was the biggest thing for me, was learning how to be aware, number one, of the thoughts, and then redirect them, number two, because 5 years ago, I didn't have the awareness to be like, oh, I'm thinking this thought and it's not feeling great to me, right? Because the feeling is just the symptom of the thought. So you're thinking something and you're building momentum in the direction, somebody cut you off. Now you're mad. Now you're going to go tell this person. Now all of a sudden you're mad. You get to work, your coffee spilled, and oh my God, and now your whole day is gone, right?
That's it.
And, if you could have caught that thought when the person cut you off, and instead of getting upset, saying, maybe they're having maybe they didn't see me, give them grace, right? And all of a sudden, your thoughts take a different direction, in a different, they build momentum in a different direction. So that's a practice. It took me a long time. I still have days where, I'm like, I've been upset for 4 hours about this thing. What is wrong with it? Why is it still not leaving? And sometimes you just have to leave the thought alone. But that's the biggest thing in my life that I'm so grateful I learned when I did. And that's something I try to instill in my kids. But I would say that's the reason why I can be happy. And I always also train myself to believe new things or change my beliefs. So I always say everything's always working out for me. And I truly believe that. Everything's always working out for me. This is going to work out too. It's okay. There's always a way. There are always resources.
That's right. This is a world of plenty. So I love that sharing, because you're absolutely right. At the end of the day, we need to mentally set our day, because however you set it, that's the outcome. You're angry, you're upset, people are getting under your skin, you're going to remain with that for the day. If, however, you drop it, you can literally, get into grace, as you rightly say, get into gratitude. Feel that difference when you set your minds. You cannot be angry and upset and grateful and in grace at the same time. So choose, because decision is really a belief system. And you're absolutely right. Whatever you believe, you are right. So believe in the things that's going to get you there. The power of visualization is incredible. And what I love your sharing was on habits. We grow up from when we're young to now. Habits are just instilled in us from just the environment of your parents, your siblings, your school, your life experiences, and it becomes automatic. And then when you get the mental capacity to decide, I am deciding what is going in my mind. I am now the guardian to my mind. Now you can change those habits, but it's not going to be easy. So like you say, it took you a long time, because it actually takes about 66 days in order for you to truly transform a habit. And that's 66 days of constant practice. And if you break it, then you have to start over again. And once you get that consistency, it becomes automatic again, right? The neurons in the brain are rewired. And now you can have that level of sort of success that you believe in. And believe, because that is the first thing we have, is belief, right? It comes from the divine. It comes into you. And when you're mentally aware of it, you can do the things that you're talking about. Because look at what your journey has been in the last few years. Coming out of a divorce can be very, very tough, especially when it has children. And a lot of people can't even get over that. And then you're struggling with the job work. You do your job, suddenly the job is not there. It's like you could have gone the other way. But instead, you made the decision that this is my new future, and I know it's going to be a better life. And that's what we have to do. We have to believe. People change countries, they change job, they go through life challenges, sometimes on the health side, that's just mind-blowing. And then you see, because of how they've set their mind, they come out on the other side, like just being such inspiration, you know. So I absolutely love the fact that you're mentally aware of what you're doing, because, you know, and I'll share this with all of you here, the viewers as well. You can choose many vehicles to build your wealth over time. The vehicle we chose is real estate because we know it, we love it, we believe that it will give us something to move forward with. But we got to work on ourselves first. And I think today you gave us a great demonstration of what that could look like, you know. And then you sort of build that network of people around you, because really and truly, man, when you start to talk to like-minded people, the day never wants to end, the conversations never want to stop, and you can just go on and on and on because you're just in that zone, you know. It's all an attraction, it's all energy driven, and that's the beauty of this world. So thank you so much for sharing, Ilona.
Thank you so much, Mitch, for
You
your
know,
kind.
we have gone through so many things: strategy, mindset, the future, you know, mortgage companies getting created. I absolutely love your journey. So, you know, we're going to part ways for sure, but I just wanted to bring you on to say any last minute tip or advice to somebody who's coming into real estate and they're still trying to figure it out.
Yeah, I think, you know, the one thing I would say is don't compare yourself. Don't compare your journey. Don't compare your journey to mine or anybody else you see. Follow your way there and remain positive. Like you said, work on your mindset, work on your health. We take these things for granted all the time. So work on that, prioritize yourself, prioritize your family, feel your way there. And really the biggest thing is don't compare yourself to other people, 100 bill, like, and don't believe everything you see on social media.
I absolutely love that. Ilona, we wish you all the best. And
Thank
to
you.
our viewers, remember, on the Pineapple Podcast, it's all about being tough on the outside, sweet on the inside, and wearing your crown of glory proudly. Have a great day, everyone. And remember to hit the like and subscribe button as we grow our base. Bye.